You're listening to the APSI Podcast, the Association of People Supporting Employment First, with your host, Chris Davies. Today's podcast is brought to you by Reach for Resources, a nonprofit providing individualized, competitive employment services for people with disabilities. We believe our community is a better place when it is inclusive and everyone, regardless of ability, has the chance to be successful. Learn more at reachforresources.org.
Hello, everyone. So good to be back. Welcome back to the Minnesota APSI Podcast. I can hardly believe it's Season 5, Episode 5 already. I'm Chris Davies, your host, and today we're here with Keeri Tramm from Lifeworks. She's the Director of Disability Initiatives at Lifeworks and so much more. Just in the couple minutes we've been sitting here talking, I've just been having a ball with you, Keeri. So I know this is going to be a fun and informative podcast. So thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So I also want to just note, we record this on a certain day, but people don't listen to it or watch it on this day because it needs to be produced and so forth. But I just want to note that today is the longest day of the year. It's June 20th, and I did a little research. Sometimes it's the 21st, but it happens to be the 20th this year because the way the calendar aligns with the Earth's orbit of the sun. So there you go. Longest day of the year today. After this, the days are going to get shorter, but as I like to say, long day, short day. It's always a good day to listen to a Minnesota APSI podcast. So I didn't rehearse that at all in my head. So
good.
Anyway, we're so happy to be here. As Keeri knows, we like to give a little information about APSI before we get into it, particularly for anybody that's joining us today that has never listened to or watched a Minnesota APSI podcast. If that's you, particular welcome to you, and also hello to all of our faithful fans that are listening and watching this episode. So we're just off of a big national convention or conference last week out in Washington, D.C. APSI is a national organization with state chapters, Minnesota obviously being one of them. But I wasn't able to go out to the conference this year because my son graduated from high school. So we had a bunch of celebrations going on last week, family coming in from out of town and all that. So I wasn't able to go, but I've heard it was just a tremendous conference, including, I think, our first ever gala, as well as a day at the Hill as we were out in D.C. So it went really well. And in Minnesota, we have lots of initiatives, including this, having this podcast so we can have wonderful people like Keeri come on and let us get to know them, have them tell us their stories and, their philosophies about life. So before we get to know Keeri, I'd like to just do a visual description. So I am a white male. I'm bald. I have a red beard, and I'm wearing a button-up blue shirt and blue jeans today. Keeri, if you could just describe yourself, please.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Keeri. I have long brown hair, brown eyes. I am a woman with olive skin, and I have a green dress with white and blue flowers on it. Oh, and some gold glasses.
Gold glasses. Very good. I love it. Yeah, that's great. So before I just have to say, before we started this, Keeri said, I said, sometimes my tongue is faster than my brain. And she said, that's okay. I'm here for some chaotic energy.
I do like chaotic energy.
So this could be a lot of fun. So into that, let's get to know you a little bit. As I think our first question is usually a bit of a blank canvas. Tell us more about yourself. Growing up, any stories you want to tell from your family or about who you are?
Yeah, so I grew up in Minnesota. My mom lives in Maple Grove, and my dad lives up at Mille Lacs Lake. I'm the oldest of 13, so huge family.
Wow.
Yeah. And I have the pleasure of having 4 parents, a mom and stepdad, a dad and stepmom. So I had 4 awesome parents growing up and, endless siblings, which was fun. The youngest is just a baby, so huge range. And I think I had a big privilege of growing up is that a lot of my family members have disabilities, and my mom had worked in the field of disability services and human resources as long as I've been alive. So having a disability wasn't a big deal. I'm autistic and have some medical disabilities. So, having that and then family members having other disabilities was just a fact of life. It wasn't anything different, which was awesome. So I didn't really feel othered. Had a huge family that I was able to be friends with and just kind of live my best life, which was fantastic. I do remember moving as a kid to a new school where I wasn't surrounded by family, and that was a little bit more difficult.
Sure.
But my mom and stepdad really took the initiative to help me make friends by joining sports. And you and I talked about this already. I'm not a big sports person, but they became coaches for the sports teams, and that really helped me make friends in a structured way and really continue those friendships growing up, which was super helpful. And I have a husband. We've been together for 12 years. And a son who is a year old, celebrating his birthday this weekend. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations. Is your son older than your youngest sibling?
They are about the same age.
Okay.
Yeah.
About the same age. Yeah.
I'm trying to think, but yeah, they're about the same age.
I bet they'll be very close cousins, right? Cousin?
Aunt. Yep.
Aunt. Yeah, aunt. Yes. Sorry. Family lineage is not my strong point. Yes. I was like, I know that doesn't sound right. They're not cousins. Yes. So your sibling will be your son's aunt.
Yeah, he's besties with like the 3 and 4 year old.
Yeah. That's cool. Wow. So 13. Yeah. You said you had a big family a couple days ago when we met. I didn't realize you were the oldest of 13. Wow. So how many are still at home, so to speak?
Let's see. 6-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I lose track of them, honestly. Yeah. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them come and go. It's a hockey family, Minnesota.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
So, some of the teenagers, go to other states and play hockey and then come back. So, there's all that.
So, was that one of the sports your parents insisted you play growing up?
No, I played basketball growing up.
All right.
Yeah.
As did I. Yeah. As did our producer. Got a heck of a 3-point shot.
I played hockey when I was younger before I moved, and I had gone to a pretty small school initially, and so it was a girls and boys mixed team.
Okay.
And then when I moved down here to the Twin Cities, they had a girls team and a boys team. And I checked out the girls' team, and I was like, well, this is just ridiculous. Why am I not allowed to, knock other children over? I'm not joining this.
Yeah, it is. We could have a whole episode about the ills of misogyny for sure. And you were talking about just privilege, and you felt like you grew up with privilege, and as I'm hearing you talk, parents that had just the same expectations for you as they did all of your brothers and sisters. I feel the same way, about myself. I often say I don't really have real problems, particularly as a white male. I feel like I'm in I walk in the shoes of the most privileged person, and to the depths I probably can't ever truly understand, the depths of my privilege, and I try to be aware of that. So I appreciate you just showing us that you are, acknowledging that and aware of that. And I think that expectation piece is so huge, and we'll probably get more into that as we go on, because I know you and I both have philosophies around that. So after growing up, tell us more about how you began your career, education, all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think a big part of it started in high school. So I was very good at academics, but I'd say maybe socially and like the life skills stuff, not as great. So one key thing that I really remember is during a transition meeting, my dad standing up. I had a 504 plan growing up. My dad standing up and just getting very irritated during the meeting and saying, why does it matter if she, isn't great at cooking or budgeting or any of these life skills if she has already passed all of her college calculus classes and all of this kind of stuff. If she can have a job that's good enough to pay other people to do these things for her, why are you focusing on these life skills and not helping her pursue a very successful career?
Right.
And that just really stuck with me.
Accessing or capitalizing on your strengths, or helping you capitalize on your strengths. That's what I'm hearing you say. Yeah. Yeah,
and that just really stuck with me. And my parents really did a great job pushing for that. I think the school tried and took it into account after that, but my parents really pushed for it. They did a great job helping me try out different jobs that their friends owned companies at. My first job was at a company my dad's friend owned. He trained hunting dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that was my first job in high school, was helping him train hunting dogs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was just getting used to going to work.
I was a caddy. That's so different.
Getting used to going to work, being on time, having the checklist of things to do, all that kind of stuff, right?
That is, yeah. And there's such a system, I'm sure, to that.
Yeah, and it was with safe people. Yeah. I love animals. Yeah. And so really focusing on the career stuff and knowing that it was okay, that I'm not great at everything, but focusing on what I am great at. And because I had finished really all of my academic stuff early, I was just kind of loitering around in high school with not a ton to do. So I had a lot of opportunities to try different things. And one of the things that I did was be a peer mentor in a special education classroom while I was in high school for the younger kids. And
yes.
Yeah, okay. And I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So I ended up going to college to be a special education teacher. I ended up absolutely hating it. I cried every day during my practicum where I was a student teacher. But my husband convinced me. He was like, just get your degree, finish it, and then you never have to do it again. Just graduate. So I did that, and I'm glad I graduated, But then since I got my degree, I was able to pursue other things.
Right, right. Yeah, hearing you say that, I remember one of my journey has not been linear, that's led me to where I am today and what I've done the last 17 years. That's for sure. One of my first crossroads in life, I like to say, I was going to be a physical education teacher. So I was working in a after school program, and I already had a BA in psychology, but I was working on getting a teaching licensure. But I realized that I love kids, but I don't love hundreds of kids screaming and yelling. So I realized I enjoy working with adults. So yes, we learn about ourselves.
It is intense, sensory-wise.
It is, and absolutely, it is intense sensory-wise, and that might have been part of it for me. I never really thought of that. It very well could have been, but yes, I could see that being a challenge sensory-wise.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was definitely the biggest challenge for me. It was continual fluorescent lights, screaming kids everywhere. And then also, this has been a continual challenge for me, but being someone with a disability, working in the field of disability, oftentimes the adults or like, the people working in the field of disability talk about people with disabilities like they're not in the room.
Right.
When really, like, a quarter of the adults in the U.S. have a disability. So people with disabilities are also the ones delivering services.
Absolutely.
So it just kind of creates a negative environment.
Well, I hope it's not Pollyanna to say, I think we all have our own personal journey, and whether it's a quote-unquote diagnosed disability or diagnosed challenge, I think we all are on, our own levels of dealing with adversity or challenges, and you're right. I think every human being, could have that. It's interesting. You and I were kind of the opposite. I really struggled with academics, but I was great socially. So if we put us together, we'd been like a superpower.
Yeah, we'd be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. No question about it.
Team.
Oh man. And it's interesting, the whole sports thing. I mean, it is. They're organizations, right? And most of us, not all of us, but most of us work in organizations, as you do, and we're going to get into that in a minute, because I find what you're doing now really fascinating, and I want to spend definitely some time, talking about that. So, you did also get into the assistive tech industry.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that. And I know you spent some time out in Oregon.
Yeah. So after college, I moved out to the West Coast, moved to Oregon with my husband, and I worked as a case manager and assessor for people with intellectual developmental disabilities co-occurring with severe persistent mental illness. And I absolutely loved it. I think it was an awesome job, and it was, I think, a very unique place. There were a lot of people with disabilities who were case managers and assessors, which was super cool. So it was really like a good chunk of people with disabilities supporting people with disabilities, which was unique in that time. It was a while ago, so it was very unique.
Yes. Feels like a lifetime, right?
Yeah. So that was really cool. But a large part of that was a decent amount of my caseload were registered sex offenders or on the Psychiatric Security and Review Board. And most of it was no fault of their own. They really just had been copying what they had seen, or it was because no one had clearly told or taught them boundaries. They weren't, out being creepy or anything like that. It truly was no fault of their own.
Right.
So that really is kind of like what brought me back to having that passion for education. And also led me to having more of a passion for technology and assistive technology, because being able to be more independent without that staff being with them all the time, but having the assistive tech really helped folks be able to go live their best lives without someone like hovering over them all the time. So eventually I left that job and went into the tech industry, and I'm actually pursuing my master's in information technology right now.
Oh, wow. Very good.
And I'm a board member on Minnesota NEAT, which is Networking and Education for Assistive Technology.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I design and create a lot of 3D printed assistive technology.
Okay. Can you give us an example of something that you've created?
Yeah. One thing that I think was really cool was there was a woman who uses a power wheelchair, and she has a service dog. And she really knew how to train this service dog on her own, like shape its behaviors and everything, but physically was unable to give it treats herself to shape that behavior. So she needed to pay someone to help her train the dog, just to give it treats, essentially, because she already knew how to do everything. So we created a treat dispenser that attached to her wheelchair, so she could just press the button. So she could train and shape that service dog's behavior herself.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that is really neat.
Yeah. So that's just the thing I do on the side, like as a volunteer.
And create that yourself?
I just created that. Someone else designed it, and then I built it for her.
Built it. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like a team effort. I design some things, and I like print and assemble some other things. So it's really like a collaborative effort.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. And you were talking a moment ago about just folks being able to live a more independent life without somebody hovering over them. Can you give some examples of what you mean, by that what kind of technology are you talking about specifically?
Yeah, I think I used a lot of it myself. So, for example, I'm not wearing it right now, but like I myself use an Apple Watch most of the time. So, with some of my medical conditions, like if I fall or pass out, like it can alert someone. So it doesn't need to be someone with me all the time.
Right.
It can alert the people that need to know instead of someone always being with me. If somebody wants to be able to go on a walk by themselves around the block, they don't necessarily need a staff with them. Someone can know that they're safe walking around the block and haven't, gone super far away.
Sure.
Things like that.
Sure. Very good. Very good. And you moved back to Minnesota from Oregon. Is that right? Was there anything in between there? Right back to Minnesota?
No, my husband works in tech, and so he was actually working out of San Francisco. It was cheaper to fly from Oregon to San Francisco. You were saying that. Yeah. So we did a lot of flying from Eugene, Oregon to San Francisco.
Which is about, what, a 45-minute flight?
Exactly, yep, 45-minute flight. It's a tiny airport. It would take like 10 minutes to get through.
In and out.
And it was faster.
Back when flying was, what year was this, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, let me think. Like 2015.
Okay, yeah.
So, it was shorter to fly than it was to drive from like Oakland to San Francisco.
Especially with traffic in California. I mean, I haven't been to Northern California exactly, but from what I hear, it can take a while to get from A to B.
And shorter.
Yeah, and we complain about 494.
When we moved back
if we
here,
only knew.
Yeah, it felt like an apocalypse. The roads were like so open. My husband was like, "What is happening?" And I was like, we're just not used to this anymore.
Well, my girlfriend's from Long Island originally, New York, and that she has no interest in moving back to New York for those kind of reasons. She's like, "Hey, if I want to go to the store, if I want to go here, if I want to go there, I can just go."
It's awesome. We live in Bloomington, and everything is within 5 minutes. It's so cool.
There you go. There you go. Well, very good. And so did you come right when you moved back, did you come back right into the position you're in now?
No, I did not. I was working remote.
Okay.
At a tech company.
Okay.
I was a senior data analyst.
Wow.
Yep. So that was, kind of like my little break in the tech world. So I did that for a while, and then I got promoted to director of Real Trends. It was for a housing data company.
Okay.
A real estate data company. So I built the database that they had and helped work on the front end of their website. And worked on accessibility of it, which was cool.
Yeah,
I'm always working on accessibility.
Well, it seems like you're really using your talent. You're really, from what I'm hearing you talk, it feels like you're melding your talents and your passions.
Yeah,
what you're really good at, and also what you really believe in, using the two together.
Thanks. Yeah, for me, work-wise, it's more about who I work with, do their values align with my values, and then can I be growing the skills that I enjoy?
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. I mean, that's all those things keep me at my company as well. So tell us about what you're doing at Lifeworks right now. As I think I said at the beginning, you are the director of disability initiatives. Tell us all about that.
So I think this is my favorite job ever, to be honest.
All right. You hear that, Lifeworks?
They initially asked me about the position, and I was like, no, not really interested. And then because I had, been working in the for-profit industry for a while, I really loved where I was at. And I hadn't had great experiences working in disability services, kind of like how we talked about, like really people talking about people with disabilities, being othered, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I got to know people working at Lifeworks, and my mom actually works at Lifeworks. We talked about this.
Yes.
And, you know, so I should have had a more open...
Did your mom hire you? She's not your supervisor.
No,
Yes,
she actually was, like, banned from knowing anything
Yes, I
about
can see
it.
that. Yeah.
So she
We have some family,
Yeah, she wasn't
dynamics
really
at our
allowed
company
to
as
know
well. Yeah, sure.
anything about it.
Yeah.
But so then I, like, got to know them more, and over half of our own staff have disabilities. So I realized it wasn't that kind of a culture. It's more of like we're going to be empowering people, and it's like by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. So that opened me up to it a lot more. And then when I learned about the role, I learned that it was very much about like empowerment and innovation, which is right up my alley, right? So the current position,
It is.
Director of Disability Initiatives, it's like internal engagement, external engagement, and innovation.
Okay.
So internal engagement is a lot of disability inclusion training, which we do for our own staff, that is above and beyond the 245D training. Like, of course, we have to do that. But what are we doing to make sure that our staff with disabilities feel included and supported, and then are also making sure that, yes, we have that inclusive and supportive work environment, but then how are we making sure that we have that narrative of supporting and empowering people with disabilities everywhere, not the like talking about them without them situation, right? So we have required quarterly trainings for everyone that I lead. And then we have 2 sessions for each quarterly training that staff come and we have just discussions about it. So like, how do we actually put this into practice? And it's good, deep discussions that I really enjoy. They're an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
And then for external engagement, it's a lot of disability inclusion training and consulting for truly anyone. Our goal is to make sure that every single person in the state of Minnesota is trained on disability inclusion. So
that's a good goal.
Thanks. So we've worked with anyone from like MSP Airport to like, you know, making sure that travelers with disabilities have a great experience, to doing new construction consulting, all of that jazz. And then for innovation, what are we doing to further disability inclusion throughout the state of Minnesota? We have a DHS innovation grant that we're working on, which is, we've talked about before.
Yep, familiar with that. Yep.
And really any other cool, innovative ideas that come up that we have the time and resources for.
How did you get connected to MSP Airport, for example? Did they reach out to you, or are you sort of canvassing and trying to develop opportunities?
I'm on their Travelers with Disabilities Advisory Committee.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So there was a connection there.
Yep.
This is a little bit of a tangent, but also sort of part of what we're talking about. I've always wondered when airlines, and I get money's always the reason, right, for just about everything, but when are airlines going to have the ability for someone that uses a power wheelchair to enter the plane in their wheelchair and secure it? When is that? Do you think that's ever going to happen?
I would also love to know that. So I don't know, to be honest. The way my understanding is that it's set up. So MSP Airport is actually 3 different organizations. And then each airline is their own organization. So essentially, you have to get each airline to be on board
with something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I have no doubt. I'll just put this in your bonnet, as I like to say. My mom used to always say I had a bee in my bonnet. So hopefully that's not a. You look up some of these old terms and you're like, I'm not going to say that anymore. Yeah. So I don't know the origin. I apologize if it offends anyone. But anyway, maybe you could design a way, because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, you can have the seats secure and then of the ability to take them out if someone books that needs that type of travel. Mm-hmm. It can't be that hard.
That's my thought too. Like, I used to work at 24-hour homes in the vans. There's ratchet. There's not a seat, and then you just ratchet down the chair.
Yeah.
I don't know why an
And
airplane
then there's
can't be
the
like
FAA,
that.
which will have to, it's they're kind of like the FIFA of the airline industry. Anybody that knows about FIFA, it's not the easiest organization to get around. Anyway, okay, I digress. So you wanted some chaotic energy.
I like it.
There you go.
I'm here for
there
it.
you go. So. Have you ever presented for, provider organizations? Done any inclusion training, disability inclusion training?
Yeah,
for
so
provider organizations?
Dakota County has a program where they're working with all of the DSPs in Dakota County.
Okay.
And so we work with them to do disability inclusion trainings.
Okay, sure, sure. Yeah, Dakota County has... it really seems to have their stuff together and things like that. A little more forward thinking. No offense to any other counties out there, but they seem to have a little more proactive approach and planful. They
really are on it.
Activities around that. So.
I also do free trainings every quarter online. So I think it's the 24th of this month. I'm doing a training on compassion fatigue and helpers.
Oh.
Yeah. And I always co-create the trainings that I do. So we co-created this training with a therapist named Carmichael Finn.
Okay.
They are a therapist for therapists, kind of meta. And so we created this training together to gear it towards helpers of people with disabilities. And so distinguishing compassion fatigue from burnout. And then if you are getting compassion fatigue or getting those signs, what does it look like to kind of prevent that? Or if you do have it, how do you deal with it?
Interesting. I kind of purposely live under a rock, but I've never heard that term, compassion fatigue. It's it's an interesting term. Is that relatively new or... Probably not.
I think it
makes
new
sense
in the mainstream world.
Yeah. It certainly makes a lot of sense to me, and it's interesting when you talk about distinguishing that between burnout, because I think we often, when we're just sort of, quote unquote, feel like we've had it, we just go right to, I'm burned out.
Yeah, and I actually think compassion fatigue is more prevalent in our field than burnout is. Yeah, burnout. Well. It could be either way, but burnout a lot of the times is I'm worked so hard, I'm overworked, I have so much paperwork to do, right? Which of course we experience. Sure. But compassion fatigue is maybe you're exposed to smaller traumatic events, not large traumatic events, or you're required to show so much compassion or so much care over time, and it eventually just gets to you, right? And then that affects the people that you're supporting.
Yeah, and even if we don't realize it, I think we all have triggering moments that just come up, and sometimes that can be part of it too. So
I think acknowledging it and caring for those people who take care of those of us with disabilities is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had said a second ago that your goal is to get disability inclusion training to every Minnesotan. Is that what I heard?
Yep.
So on that note, what are your plans to accomplish that, and also just in general, how do you see things continuing to improve, and where do you see the future of inclusion, for all people?
Yeah, I want to see disability inclusion be the standard, not the exception, for all of us, right? Not just Minnesota, but everywhere. And I think it starts with disability inclusion training, so that's why I want to make sure that we get everyone trained in disability inclusion. One way we plan on doing that is we have new hires starting, so there'll be 2 of me now.
Okay, there's going to be 2 of you.
who can go around doing trainings.
Well, I see a future podcast.
And really just doing these trainings as much as possible. We've already done 70 this year.
Oh, wow. That's
so
it's not even June 30th, so that's impressive.
Continuing to like keep the quality high, but also keep cranking them out, regardless of cost. So maybe one organization can't afford it. We get a sponsorship for it, right? Or do a pro bono one. Really, like wherever anyone's at, we're going to meet them, go there, do it virtually, and make sure that they have it.
Do you keep track of, just going back to that goal of every Minnesotan, do you keep track of how many individual people have gone through your training?
Yes, we have almost 6,000 now.
6,000.
Not nearly every Minnesotan.
No,
but we're getting close.
But hey, drops in a bucket doesn't fill up all at once.
Yep.
So that's I don't even know if that's a saying, but there you go.
Yeah, and that's about in the about in the last year.
Okay, so that's impressive.
Thanks.
That's impressive. I love it. Yeah, so you had mentioned that you'd like to see just inclusion being the norm.
Yeah.
I've often had similar thoughts that the what I do for my work is I'm part of an organization that is really about helping people obtain real work in society, real wages, same places we all work. And, oftentimes we'll say things like, or I'll say things like, the ideal is that we don't even need to exist, right? Because it is just, it's expected that people of all different backgrounds and situations in life are going to apply for a job, and that we're going to, somehow find a way to really fight off our own biases, and so I feel the same way. Any other kind of thoughts or advice, words of wisdom, chaotic messages you'd like to share with the audience out there, on screen or on or listening in their earbuds?
Yeah, I think when it comes to employment, it's okay if you don't find what you're looking for right away. If at first you don't succeed, try again is a saying. And I think it's easy to get down if you don't find it right away. But, it's taken me a while to find a job that I love. But through each trial and error, you're going to learn something. You're going to meet some great people. And it's a journey along the way. So keep going for it. And I really do think it's more about who you're working with and that you're enjoying yourself is what's important.
Yeah. I'm a firm believer in enjoying the journey, making the work, if you will, fun. And, we only, at least in my personal belief, go around this merry-go-round once, right? So let's make the most of it. I couldn't have said that better myself, so I'm not even going to try. That was great. I guess I do want to say, and I don't normally say things like this, but for some reason today I'm just
chaotic energy.
I don't know. I'm just compelled to. I think we all know that the world, you talk about chaos, can be a chaotic place. So. I guess my advice to everyone out there listening or watching is control what you can control. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and never forget that if you believe it, you can achieve it.